First up is a vehicle I am super excited for, which is the Ford F-150 Lightning. And I think it only makes sense to compare that vehicle to another Ford F-150. We could look at the hybrid, or we could look at an XLT version or something like that, a comparable vehicle that's internal combustion engine. So where do we begin? I would say the Plug-in BC website is a good place to start. The next is the end-of-life salvage value. Now, if we're looking at this, the screen here, we can see there's a little eye icon here. If you don't know what EOL stands for, click on the eye icon. It will give you a little bit of description of what this value is. And you can see it's a percentage, so 12%. I think 12% at the end of a 12-year planned life cycle is quite reasonable. We can go with that. I'm just going to keep in the defaults again. You may have some particulars for your fleet that you want to use. Again, we're making a lot of assumptions here, and this is always going to be the case when we're planning for the future. I don't know what, the end of life the vehicle is going to sell for. Maybe it'll go for more than 12%, maybe less. It's hard to say. We got to make some assumptions. These are some default ones. They're good enough for our purposes. The next item is tailpipe emissions, and this is measured in kilograms per liter of fuel used. And we like to measure emissions not only in CO2, but in CO2 equivalent. And I really encourage people to use the CO2 equivalent, denoted as CO2e, because when we compare gas and diesel vehicles, you're going to have a lot higher CO2 production from gas emissions, but you're going to have a lot more NOx and other nasty things coming out of diesel emissions. So if you were to only compare CO2, you might get a great CO2 reduction by just simply switching to diesel. But if we're actually talking about greenhouse gas emitted in total, when we do like for like with NOx and all these other particulates, there's not really much of a savings when we switch to diesel. So let's take a look. What number should we use for this kilograms per liter of CO2 equivalent? This is the 2018, and that's the latest one, 2018 BC Methodological Guidance for Quantifying Greenhouse Gas Emissions. That's a mouthful, I know. So if we go down to the, I believe it is page 24, we are going to find a table that will help us figure out that number. Page 24 here. Here's the table, Emission Factors, Fleet Fuels, Standard Mixes. We're looking at a light-duty pickup truck. Again, F-150 is a light-duty pickup truck. We're just going to be using standard gasoline. Kilograms per liter is going to be our unit. And if I go all the way over here, I'm going to find 2.379 as my CO2 equivalent figure. So let's go ahead and type that in. 2.379. That is our greenhouse gas emissions for CO2 equivalent. Maintenance costs. They're putting the annual maintenance costs at $1,079 a year. I think that seems reasonable if you consider oil changes. Once in a while, you're going to have major unit repairs. On average, $1,000 for a year for just strictly maintenance isn't unreasonable. Now we need to look at the EV. So the EV maintenance costs, I would say the general assumption that you can be made here is that EVs are going to cost less to maintain than the internal combustion engine vehicle. Makes sense, doesn't it? You don't have any fluids. Because of regenerative braking, there's less wear and tear on brake pads. So brake pads are being changed fewer. You don't have to do a transmission change. You don't have to do an oil change. However, $90 a year, at least I think in the first kind of early adopters, we're probably not going to see that drastic of a price reduction. I would probably guess between 50 to 75% in a maintenance price reduction. So let's factor that in. So that'd be about $700 annually for maintenance for your EV. Looking at the liters per 100 kilometers, if I'm thinking of the F-150 pickup truck, 22 liters. I'd say it's definitely like the new hybrid ones are probably more efficient than that. Let's be nice and give them let's give them 10 kilometers, 10 liters per 100 kilometers. fuel efficiency. The best way to look that up is if you go to Enercan. They got great data on that, and we'll share some links on that as well. Actually, why don't we just do that right now? So here we have the 2021 fuel consumption guide from Enercan. And let's look up the fuel efficiency rating search. So we're going to go for pickup truck, Ford, F-150, search. And it's telling me the combined city, well, we said we'd do a municipal setting, and so it's going to be 12. So let's go back to our fleet analysis tool here, and for liters per 100 kilometers, we're going to put in 12. So now that we scroll down, this is going to be a bit of a summary. Now you can easily take these charts and you can use them in your business case, send them to your boss, make it look good, do a comparison, show that you've done the math. In this example that I've run through, it looks like the EV is going to cost more annually than the F-150 pickup truck. Doing that breakdown, we're going to be saving on maintenance. We're going to be saving a lot on fuel. Now, the cost of capital, that F-150 pickup, the Lightning, the EV, has a higher sticker price. So cost of capital is going to hurt us. And at the same time, depreciation is going to hurt us as well. One assumption that we did not make here was insurance. Again, the vehicle is more expensive. So if you crash it, it's going to cost more for ICBC or the insurance company to replace. Therefore, you can only expect your premiums to be higher for such a vehicle as well. So at the end of the day, we have two figures here we need to write down. In terms of cost savings, we have a negative $1,145 cost savings. In terms of greenhouse gas emissions, though, we see a reduction of 4,066.
If you want to see more of this conversation, get in touch with us at fleets@pluginbc.ca, and we will direct you to the entire video and also be happy to answer any additional questions you may have.